Hi everyone, my name's Joel Enoch. I am Nutritional Ambassador for Clif Bar here in the UK, and we've partnered with the Simply Health Great Run series to produce a series of nutrition videos that look at what you should be eating and or drinking depending on the Great Run event distance that you've signed up for. This video looks at food and drink, nutrition, for 10-mile and half marathon running events. So the first thing that becomes really important is that these events, for most of you who are going to take certainly longer than 70, certainly longer than 90 minutes to complete your either 10-mile or half marathon event, carb loading becomes really important. Now I find carb loading quite an unhelpful term because it sort of insinuates that you want to have as much carbohydrate as possible, and that's not the deal at all. What you actually want to be doing is just small tweaks. You're going to be training less anyway. So if you maintain a fairly decent carbohydrate intake with some carbohydrates in every meal, that's probably going to be enough. But if you do adjust things, it's small tweaks, like add a little bit of extra honey to your cereal, maybe drink a sports drink in the couple of days before, or just have a couple of sweets through the day, whereas normally you might choose a slightly more healthy snack like nuts or seeds or something. Just small tweaks to add a little bit more carbohydrate into your diet. The other thing is, a lot of people do this carb loading thing in the day before, and that's not a good idea at all because it just leaves you feeling heavy for the actual run itself. You're much better to do it if your event is, say, on the Sunday, to do it 2 days and 3 days before. So Thursday, Friday, have a few more carbs. Saturday, reduce that amount of carbohydrates. Still some carbohydrates in every meal and snack, but not as many. And then what you'll find is the energy will have been stored from that Thursday and Friday, and it'll be ready for your body to utilize on the Sunday. So, especially if you're going to take longer than 90 minutes to run your 10-mile or half marathon race, some attempts at carbohydrate loading is useful, and if you're unsure, you should practice that in training before one of your longer runs, just to make sure that you know what you're doing and your body adapts to it absolutely fine. We talked about breakfast in the 10K videos, so that's a useful one to go back to, but just to emphasize again that at these kind of distances, breakfast is quite an important meal. 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours before, and fairly simple carbohydrates, nothing that's going to sit too heavy in the stomach, and you want some maybe 400 or 500 mils of fluid along with that as well to make sure you're hydrated for the event. After that, you don't need to eat or drink terribly much more at all. Next up, we want to think about fluid during. So again, these are longer events now. So especially if they're in the summer, if they're on hotter days, or the conditions are a little bit more humid, we definitely need to think about drinking little and often. So every 15 or 20 minutes, make sure that there's some fluid coming in. That's a really crucial point, especially if you're going to be out there for a little bit longer. And then in terms of carbohydrate and energy during, this again becomes a consideration at these sort of distances. Now if you're going to take 70 minutes or less for your 10-mile or half marathon event, then you only really need to take maybe a gel or 2 of the Clif shot blocks around halfway. And that's just going to give you enough energy just to make sure that you don't run out before the end. If you're going to take longer than 70 minutes, then what I'm going to suggest is from about 40 minutes onwards, you want to take on board a small amount of carbohydrate, say a shot block or a bit of a gel, every 15 minutes or so until the end of the event. And that again should mean that you've got enough energy to get all the way to the finish line without any worries, concerns or bother at all. The other thing is that these events demand quite a lot of stress on the body in training, so we want to look after our recovery, and using something like Clif Builder's Bar or something else that has some carbohydrate and some protein in it to snack on immediately after you finish your runs is going to mean that you get fitter faster, recover quicker, and get the most from your training sessions. So as I said, this is one of a series of videos, so I encourage you to watch the other videos. We've written them all so they complement each other and hopefully help you to understand food and drink for running a little bit better than you have before. Thanks very much.